How do you address the course requirement to engage with the student in theological reflection?
We do that very intentionally. Actually, one of the other questions that you have sort of outlined for us is how in the life of a church or an agency do you carve out time
Yes.
when it's really unpredictable?
Mm-hmm.
And so to that, I say we get it on the schedule. We just get it on the schedule. It's like any kind of meeting. You know, you put it on the schedule, and if something comes up, then we reschedule. And that conversation can be about anything, what inspires them, what makes them laugh, what makes them cry, what brought them to seminary, what brought them to this seminary. But always very intentionally towards the end of the conversation, I will start to ask them questions about how they see God in that. Not only whatever situation they've been talking about, but in sort of the larger overview of, okay, so how do you think God is working in this situation right now? And what can you get from this? And then ask them to identify any biblical or theological themes that they find are present in whatever that conversation has been about. And it's a little weird at first. Sometimes it seem a little forced. Those first few conversations can be a little awkward, but we get used to it. And then it's fun.
Yeah.
And then it's a lot of fun. So.
This is useful for me because that's the piece. Every time we get to it on the form, I think, did I do that? Did I say Did I manage to talk theology in the midst of a staff meeting? Like you, we have regular meetings almost every Tuesday morning. We get together and talk about what happened in worship the week before and what's coming up in the calendar and what things are going on in the life of the church, what my own experience has been in the course of the week. And so we're talking about a variety of things, but we don't have a moment when we say, so what does this mean as we look at the scriptures? Where do we see God? We don't do that as explicitly, but I've been really pleased that through the year students will come away from those meetings with a profound sense that we've talked about God's purpose for us, what we're trying to accomplish in the different movements of worship, for instance. Where is grace conveyed? Where is community built? And all that stuff has theological import. So it happens, but more just in the course of conversation, and in talking about how we feel about what it is we're doing, what raises our anxiety, what makes us glad, all that kind of thing has a sense God with us in it.
What piece of advice would you give a first-time supervisor?
I would just say, be as real as you can be with the student. Try to put pretenses aside and ego aside and be candid about what ministry is like. Be open to the intern's experience. Be kind and supportive. I think it's potentially a very important experience for a student to be in an internship, and so I always want it to be a gracious experience and a good experience that they'll look back on and feel like they were well supported and encouraged and challenged in good ways.
And I would just all of those things and add simply to just look for the holy moments that crop up all the time, and point them out as, in those moments of grace, in those moments of tension or of celebration, to just say, just to stop for just this 1 second that it takes and say, this is a holy moment. And it's so wonderful for the supervisor, but then it's also wonderful for the intern too, to understand that our days really are made up of moments in which God has just sort of reached out and touched us. So to bring that presence a little bit closer is a great experience.